Hi, Andy. Thanks for being here and congratulations to your new album, Electric Truth.
Thank you, man.
And this album was produced by fellow Ibanez artist and guitar player Josh
Yeah.
Smith, and I think it was
Yeah.
recorded in LA.
Yep, this is
How
correct.
did
Yeah.
that collaboration come about?
I'd become a fan of Josh's. I hadn't met him yet, but I was seeing videos on YouTube and hearing this great playing. I loved his style was very, very bluesy, yet I could hear there was jazz in there. And it sounded like he'd listened to Robin Ford and Danny Gatton as well as the great blues guys, right? So I think I reached out to him, got his number from a mutual friend, just said hi. I'm a fan, just wanted to say hey. And we became friends, and then it was right about that time. This would have been 2019. He told me he just finished his home studio. He just been working on his dream studio. He just finished it and said, "Man, come out and record."
Mhm.
And yeah, it just seemed like the right circumstance and the right timing. So this would have been beginning of 2020. Going out for the annual NAMM show in Anaheim, not too far from where Josh lives in L.A. And he just was come out a couple days early. We'll write some tunes and beforehand and get together. And so we were going to try to do the whole record in the 2.5 days that we had right before the NAMM show. And but then the whole thing we'd agreed upon was that I wanted him to produce and him to pick the players. I didn't want it to be an Andy Timmons band record because it wasn't going to be my band. I wanted him to pick the players that he thought would be great to play with me. And it ended up being the guys that he always records with, Lamar Carter on drums and Travis Carlton on bass and Darren Johnson on keyboards. So he would kind of be the producer, and we would do the arrangements together and put the band together. And it happened pretty quickly, honestly. I had written some songs on my own. We collaborated over the phone on a couple of tunes. He wrote a song so we just kind of put together what we had and banged out what we could in the 2.5 days. So that was the thing. We got most of it done, a lot of it live with the band in the room together. But there was a few tracks I needed to redo or finish up back here at my studio. I was going to come back out to his studio in March. But of course, the whole world shut down right about March 2020, right? So
Yeah.
therefore that, it took a while to get it all together and to get it out. But it's kind of nice as we're seemingly, coming through at least the worst part of the pandemic, and kind of handy to have a record in the back pocket ready to go. And see what everybody thinks. So far, the response has been great. Everybody recognizes that it's a little off my beaten path. But I think that's the beauty of it, because I wanted to make a record different than what I would do on my own. Something a
Yeah.
bit more in Josh's world. Still my voice on the guitar, but with some funkier, earthier kind of grooves.
That's cool. So you recorded the record in 2.5 days, and there hasn't been a phase of rehearsing with the guys. So
No,
you
it
just
was live in the studio. Josh and I had a day before the band came in to make sure we knew what we wanted out of the arrangements, make a chart. But that was it. Yeah. I mean, these guys are obviously high level players. And so it just took a bit of quick rehearsal and arranging, and off we went. So
okay.
yeah, it's that, but I love the vibe of the record for that reason. It's got a very fresh thing about it. Like the first track on the record, EWF, which is very much a Earth, Wind, and Fire kind of vibe that I wanted to get out of the track,
Yeah.
is live. That's every note is just as we played it. A couple
Yeah.
overdubs with like some percussion and another keyboard part. But that's the beauty of some players of that level. Even though they'd play together, just me being an outsider kind of coming in, I was in the hot seat in a way because I respected these guys. And I've got Josh on the other side of the glass, who I also really respect. So it was a good situation for me to be in and try to step up. But they're the kind of players where not only are they, really great, either, virtuosic on their instrument, but there's more to it than that. You have to really listen to what's happening with all the other players. There's this really, great empathy between each player, and the antenna, as I call it, are really up, and everybody's reacting to each other in real time. And that's when some really special moments can happen. So we're very happy to capture a lot of that as we recorded.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that would have also been my next question. I've found that Electric Truth is a very versatile record and has
Yeah.
this typical Andy Timmons ingredients like phrasing and great
All right.
ballads and great rock songs. But
Thank you.
I always felt that it has a little bit more of that bluesy style that you probably more live out on your Pawn Kings
Yeah.
project.
Yeah.
And I also
Yeah.
find there are a lot of references to 70s soul music, and yeah, EWF sounds a little bit like Shining Star by Earth, Wind and Fire. What was your influence of 70 funk and soul bands?
Well, see, especially in America and probably all over the world, radio wasn't segregated in any way. You know, you'd hear Earth, Wind and Fire into Dolly Parton, into Queen. It didn't matter. It was just the hit songs of the day, and they all lived together. And so, you know, it was all music to me. And particularly, you know, I loved Ohio Players and Spinners and Earth, Wind and Fire. Just the feel of it and the guitar playing, especially Al McKay with Earth, Wind and Fire. And that's what I was always trying to. I liked to, you know. It's just kind of a funky. The Shining Star thing was certainly the foundational influence, but I never actually figured out what that was.
Yeah.
But I knew it was two guitar parts kind of playing, you know, somewhat in harmony, right? So that's where I came up with the double stuff. Get a little bit more gain. That kind of thing. So I had that riff kind of in the style of, and we wrote the song around that. Yeah. But it wasn't until like a few weeks ago I discovered there was an Al McKay instructional video. Like it was either Star Licks or one of those great 70s, 80s guitar licks instructional videotapes, VHS. And on there, he breaks down what he plays on Shining Star. And I never went back to kind of learn it. Yeah. So, but he demonstrated, and it's basically like a boogie woogie piano thing. So one part is like a left hand. There's the right hand. Yeah, right. And it's just like, it's so simple, but so freaking over the top cool, you know. It was so neat to see that after I'd already gone down this whole process of writing this other riff kind of to sound similar to it, not trying to replicate it. But anyway, I love all the Al McKay stuff. He's such a great player, always great tones. I'm pretty sure it seemed like it was a telly in the middle position. And that's why I wrote that tune on a telly, and on the track, that's my old 68 Telecaster on there. Yeah.
Oh, you played the song with the Telecaster, not with the AZ,
yes. There's some songs that are the AT100. There's a 68 Tele on a couple of songs. There's a 65 Strat on a couple of things. So it's, you know, I was leaning towards some vintagey tones, but also I've got to have my main Ibanez for certain things, especially anything with a bridge humbucker kind of tone. I'm going to need that guitar for that. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. I mean, probably you already answered that question, but I was wondering because this is your first release after Theme from a Perfect World, which was about six years ago. And
it is,
what happened between, I mean, a part of the pandemic, what happened between these two records, and what made you wait so long? Was this only due to the pandemic?
No, definitely not. It's just a matter of, I wait till I feel like I have something worthwhile to say, you know. Busy with a lot of other things in between. There was another record I did with called the Redcoats, which was released a year ago, which was with Matt and Greg Bissonette. Not many people seem to know about it, unfortunately, but it's a really great record. Matt Bissonette wrote all the tunes. He's a great singer, and then but it's a player's record. You know, it's just a lot of great. We finished that right before the pandemic actually, and came out in 2021. But yeah, there's a lot of Andy Timmons band stuff to come. I just, you know, want it to be special. I just want to release records just to do it. So we'll see. There's no other excuse beyond that. You know, just a crazy time.
Yeah. Do you still do a lot of sideman stuff, a part of the record that you mentioned? I think you did a lot back in the days.
Yeah, it's little bits here and there. I do some local session work, not as much as I used to, and occasionally people send me projects. I enjoy doing it to a degree, but I like writing my own stuff more than anything, and I've got a lot of material ready to go. So there likely will be, before an Andy Timmons band record, there'll likely be another record of purely solo guitar instrumental stuff, but one guitar, meaning, you know, like you're hearing now. It's just me on my electric guitar. So I composed a lot in especially the last couple of years because we were home all the time.
Yeah,
and I've got a lot of very moody pieces that I'm ready to record very soon. So
yeah, right.
It won't be so long between releases in the next few years, I don't think.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, for me too, man. But starting to feel like I've got a lot of things that are in a good place and are ready to, something of quality.
Yeah, cool. You got mainly instrumental records, instrumental tracks on that record, but you also feature a vocalist called Corey Pertile on 2 songs, Say What You Want and Take Me With You. How did you stumble across him? Because I was looking in the internet and I almost found nothing about him.
There's a record he did with a good friend of mine, a guitar player named Nick Knurk. And I think the record is called Nickel and Dime, I think. But it's a really good kind of pop soul record. And so I met Corey through Nick, and he's just been a guy that's sang in cover bands for years around town. Really got a great soul R&B kind of voice. Yeah. And so we did a couple of gigs together a few years ago. And so when it came time that I was working on this record, I could have sung those songs, but I thought, man, Corey's voice would be perfect. And I didn't have the lyrics finished for either one, but I had the tune and partially, certainly the theme of the lyrics. And so he came in and helped co-write the lyrics and then did a wonderful job on the record. So I'm hoping to do more with him in the future. People have really been, resonating with this sound, and it's, he's a real sweet cat. We played the whole CD live for the first time last Friday. Not with the LA band, of course. I put together a band, an Electric Truth specific band here in Dallas with some great players. And we played last Friday. And so, it was fun to have Corey on stage for some vocal tunes. And we did some covers at the end of the night, too. We did some Frampton and some old, some good funky stuff. Marvin Gaye, or Donny Hathaway's version of What's Going On. So it's nice to have a singer that can sing the heck out of those tunes,
Right.
Yeah.
When you write songs, do you in advance have in mind that this is going to be a track where a singer is going to perform, or do you write the melody on your guitar and play the melody and then afterwards think, well, that would be neat to have a singer on it?
Yeah, no, Say What You Want was certainly that was a vocal tune from the start. I just had the riff and it was just, there was no question what that was going to be. Same with Take Me With You. That could have been an instrumental, but I think I had vocals in mind for that. And I'd write a lot of vocal tunes, and I have a amazing catalog of unreleased and unrecorded vocal tunes, very much inspired by Elvis Costello and, more Petty and Beatle kind of stuff. So eventually I'll get around to releasing all these things, I'm hoping anyway.
Okay.
But the instrumental stuff usually starts off, I know I'm writing an instrumental tune, and that's I'll hear the melodies first, or I'll somehow conceive, sometimes melody and harmony together. But no set way either. Sometimes, a lot of times music will come to me, just when I'm thinking about other things or absorbing some kind of information or whatever. Guitar is always in my hand, so
I remember on Ear Ecstasy 2, you also did a lot of vocal tunes where you did the vocals yourself, and you did a great job there.
Oh, thank you.
Why didn't you pursue that vocal career on other records than on this record?
It's funny because the record that I recorded right after Ear Ecstasy actually didn't come out for years, but it's called Orange Swirl, and still a bit of an outlier, a bit of a rare record. It was but very much a Beatles, Elvis Costello style record, all vocal, because after Ear Ecstasy, I'm like, okay, I've done my guitar record. Now let me just do some other pop vocal stuff that I love to do. And another record called The Spoken and the Unspoken. It's kind of half and half vocal and instrumental. So I can't claim any. I think Ear Ecstasy 2, was the label I was working with in Japan, Sony 00 Records. I think they were requesting some vocal tunes. So that's why I wrote, "Is this what you want?"
Yeah.
My angry response, like, "Really? You're going to tell me what to do? All right." I mean, but no, but a song like "Slips Away," that's in my heart. That's going to come out. And I love writing material like that. So we'll see. Yeah, stay tuned for that, because I've got a bunch of tunes I think that are really good pieces. Vocal tunes that I just want to get a good recording of and get it out there.
Cool. So you plan to continue the collaboration with Corey?
Yeah, my tunes that I'm writing, that I'm talking about, probably will be me singing, but I would like to write some stuff specifically either with or for Corey, because there could be another Electric Truth record. I'd like to kind of continue to have, and hopefully with Josh producing. I really enjoyed having another guitar player as a producer, which is rare for me, because usually it's either myself in conjunction with my engineer or my bassist. We'll produce together.
Yeah.
And I've done that, my whole career, but it's really fun. Like when I work with Simon Phillips, have a different set of ears to work with. And in this case, just happens to be this great guitar player that I really respect. And so that's a good position to be in, and just kind of it'll help bring different things out of your personality that you might not have been your first instinct, or at least take you a little bit out of your normal comfort zone. That's really important for any artist, I think, to have that, to be have somebody to help draw that out of you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool. Yeah. So maybe let's talk now a little bit about your gear. You've been an Ibanez user for a long time, and you have your AT100 with the AT1 humbucker in the bridge position, and the other signature model. Yeah, this one. Yeah,
that's the old from 1994. That's my old beat up original one, which I still play all the time.
Yeah. I was wondering, the new ATC model comes with a cruiser in the bridge model. I mean, this one that you're playing actually right now has the AT1 as well.
Yes, this is a newer version, even with a more traditional style bridge in it too, more of a Strat style bridge, which I'm really gravitating towards this guitar. I like the ATZ with the 3 singles, but I tend to, overall, I need that bucker there. Okay. A majority of the time, so hence the evolution. But I liked having that guitar also. The 3 singles was just a nice change, and also Ibanez hadn't really put out a Strat style guitar since the 70s.
Right.
So I was honored that I was the first one to do that with them. But when it gets down to it, my main guitar is gonna be the humbucker and the two single voices. Yeah. But I'm liking this. It's funny. I've used the Godo Wilkinson bridge for years because it's a beefier, fatter tone than a traditional Fender style, but this has a sound too. It's just got a little more top. I lost some gain somewhere. Oh, I see what's going on. There it is. So I'm enjoying this newest version. It's been the guitar I'm playing mostly these days, especially at home.
So in the end, you switched back to the AT1 as the preferable choice for the bridge.
For my bridge pickup, yeah, for sure. The cruiser is really nice actually. But what I've gotten into doing now is I've got a coil tap on the AT1, which happens to work really nice. Pleasantly surprised on how well it taps, so it's really become my standard configuration now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Probably just information for our subscribers. The cruiser is a humbucker, but it comes with a lower output and sounds very glassy and sounds probably the most single coil stylish humbucker in single coil format that you can probably get in the market.
Yeah, and that's the kind of sound I've always used for stuff like. Single coilish, but noise free. The best of both worlds, and it matches nice with a traditional bucker.
Yeah, cool. But neck-wise, the ATZ has the standard AZ neck, or did you make some changes to make it more fit to the AT100?
Yeah, it's closer to, and it's not exactly like the old AT100, but it's more of that shape and that radius. Just with the benefit of having the darker roasted, which I went to the way before they started doing that. I remember they made an AT100 but black with a maple neck. I said, man, the neck looks so white compared to my old worn neck. Could you do some kind of aging or treatment to it? And they did. And so, I'm not sure if that's what led to the ATZ line, but it was something I'd had in mind for a while, so I was very happy to see them go that direction,
Yeah, right.
for the roasted thing.
Yeah. Amp-wise, you've always been famous for using Mesa Boogie amps, especially the Lone Star amp. But
Yes.
You used to have a dual setup with the Stiletto and the Lone Star. Has that changed in a way, or do you also approach what you use live versus what you use in the studio for the recording?
Yeah, so the Stiletto came along when I was doing, you can see these, the Resolution record, which goes back to 2006. That whole record was done with these two Marshalls, a 68 and a 79 JMP. And I was just running them loud and clean and using a 3-knob tube driver and some echo plexes. That was the main tone. And that's right when Mesa was working on the Stiletto, and they had released it actually, but then they heard my record and thought, oh, we need to tune this amp differently, and they worked with me on it. And that's how the Stiletto Stage 2 came along. So that's the one that's really based on my original amps here. One channel gets a nice plexi thing, and the other one gets a nice JMP, the first year of the master volume kind of thing. And for a while there, so I would use my Lone Stars in stereo, but then to replicate more the resolution tones, I would have a stereo pair of Stilettos. But over time, I found that I was really getting pretty much everything I needed out of the Lone Stars, because I put EL34s in them like I would my Marshalls. It's an amp that you can either have 606s in or change the bias and go to EL34s, and it kind of tightens the low end up for me. And so also over time, I was using less and less of the lead channel and going for more of a clean platform with gain pedals. And once I found the Angry Charlie from JHS, I started really like, well, I like the feel of the gain in front of the amp and the clean platform. And so then we ended up tweaking that and modifying it, and that became my AT, the at sign, the AT JHS pedal. And so that's my main gain tone. If you hear, let's see, how can I do this? Here's the amp clean, just kind of straight ahead platform. But if I hit the Just clean again. I hit the wrong patch. Clean amp, and then here's just the JHS. So it gives me a lot. It's really tight sound. It gives me lots of control, a lot of detail. I still use the Lone Star lead channel with the tube screamer in front of it if I need a neck pickup tone. Oops. I was saving my battery. But that neck pickup tone, if you get it right, it's usually a bit too thin for the bridge, so I'll go back to the JHS. The volume's there. So those are my two basic lead tones, but mainly it's going to be that JHS on the clean channel.
The JHS ad has these 3 wattage settings: 25, 50, and 100 watts. Which setting do you use?
Always in the 100 watt. The other settings are cool. They get a bit more compressed and easier to get more gain out of, but I like the most headroom. It's the same with my amps. The Mesas are multi-watt switchable, but I always have them in the 100 watt mode. Okay. Just for the most amount of headroom and such. So that's my favorite setting on that one. A great setting just to start with on the AT pedals is everything at noon, and maybe with the gain maybe more like towards 3 o'clock. But yeah, it's real easy. The thing with gain that I've always and it's a struggle for everybody, I would imagine. The more gain we have, obviously it's a bit easier to play, but then you lose clarity, and that gain is usually adding some really harshness in the top end. So I'm always trying to find the balance between just enough gain to where it's not too fizzy, and then really taming that top end so it's a sweet tone and not harsh. And so the thing has got, I forget what they call it. It's basically treble and presence. It might be like air or
Air.
whatever they're calling it. But it's two different types of filtering of the top end that I really find that I can pretty much take that pedal in front of any amp, like even a twin or something that, it's harder to get that kind of high gain lead tone out of it, really get my sound out of it. So was really pleased to work with JHS on that. Really proud of that pedal.
Yeah, I remember that you said a few years ago that you also use a blues driver, but only in combination with another gain section, more or less. You never use it alone. Is that still the case?
That's not quite the case. Yeah, first. Okay, so there's a variety of ways that I get my neck pickup cleaner, slightly broken up tone. So this first tone here. So this is my Carl Martin dual channel compressor with an RC booster, which is a mild gain in front of it. And not really compressing so much. The Carl Martin is acting more as a boost. So here's without the Carl Martin. Oops, that's the wrong thing. So here's no Carl Martin. So I'm using it to hit the front end real hard. And then the RC, there's the RC off. So what I'm doing with the RC is shaping the low end. I'm carving the bass almost all the way out and adding a little bit of treble and gain. That way you can really... It's a real nice upper harmonic content. Now, with the blues driver, I don't run that in conjunction with anything. It's always on its own. So maybe I misspoke in an interview or something. But so this pedal on its own, the way I've got it set, sounds like a JMP to me. Put a bit of delay on, and I've always got on my guitars. They all are outfitted with a treble bleed mod. So when I turn the volume knob of my guitar down, it retains the top end. So I can have this guitar, see, that's that same heavy tone, but if I back the volume way down, so I would use that for like, today. My amp is a little dark.
Still sounds great.
You get the idea though. So it's actually, it's a crunch pedal, but when used with the neck pickup and backing it down, it can be a real pretty sound, So I'm always kind of looking for ways of getting that mild gain neck pickup tone to really speak and sparkle a certain way.
Okay. You also have a little surprise for us in store for the following year, which shall not be named yet. But let's
okay.
Let's put the question another way. What is it that you expect from a good delay pedal? What are your expectations on?
Sure. And this my love of delay goes really, really early in my career, where there were certain things that Alex Lifeson was doing or Lukather, and I'd hear this really nice ambient guitar tone. So I remember my very first Echo unit was a Roland Space Echo, but it wasn't really mine. My band had one for the PA, but I would steal it every now and then, put it in front of my guitar amp, and then after that I had an Ibanez AD202, which was like a multi effect rotary knob switchable, but I had an Echo on that, so it's always kind of been part of my sound. And then over the years, I had a variety of different, when we got into the digital effects, I had the Rockchon Intel effects, a PV Profex back when I was a PV endorser. But by the time Mike Dane and I did the Resolution record, the Andy Timmons Band Resolution record, and we really went down we called it Tone Quest, where, once it was decided we were going to make that record with just one guitar and, no overdubs, we knew that, man, that's got to be a really great guitar tone. And, some of the great echoes, were the old EP3 Maestro Echoplex units, famously used by Eric Johnson and a bunch of players, Joe Walsh. So when we ended up going the Marshall route, the tube driver, just the tape echoes really had a particular thing to them. And what it was that it's the way the echoes get out of the way and almost create kind of a reverb, it's where that first echo comes in, and then naturally what happens with tape, it's an imperfect system. So the tuning starts to flutter, and it creates what I eventually started to call a halo effect around the note. And so we recorded the record like that, but then to use the tape echoes live is a pretty volatile, ancient system, right? So I was a big fan of the Electro Harmonics Deluxe Memory Man, and the beauty of that unit was it was a wonderful analog unit, but it had chorus available that you could add into the repeats, but it wasn't like the traditional chorus tone like Andy Summers might use in The Police or a Roland Jazz chorus amp. It was only affecting the repeats. So the guitar tone stayed pure, but as you add the echo in, if you get it just right, each repeat gets just a little out of tune. So I was using those for a long time, and there's also kind of breaking down pretty easily. So I found the timeline, which I spent a long time trying to replicate, because I was using two memory men, shall we say, two memory men echoes in series. So I came up with a patch in the timeline. I called it 91% there. It was almost getting that thing, though it does a nice thing of its own too. But I really had it in my mind. I want to find a company to work with that will really make my ultimate version of this. And that's leads us to where I can't really announce it yet, because it doesn't come out until June 10th. But June 10th, you will know all about it. And it truly is my ultimate guitar echo effect pedal. You're hearing a prototype of it now. So I couldn't be more proud of it. And it took about 3 years to get to where we are. So we'll let you all know all about it real soon. So,
okay. Yeah.
It's finally here, man.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Okay.
Thank you, Heiko.
All right. Now let's switch a little bit to your playing philosophy and advice for young guitar players. I think when it comes to your playing, we already covered a lot of topics in the last video we did that I will have linked below, like your phrasing, tone, and how you approach chromatic phrases and how that came into your playing. This time I want to talk to you about the Beatles, and because you did that Sgt. Pepper's album and you played I Saw Standing There. What is it to you that every guitar player could learn from, apart from the composition, from the Beatles, and how would you advise working on their compositions as a guitar player?
Wow. Well, it's hard for me to really in a short, short digestible version of what that music means to me, but it's so in my fabric, in my DNA. It's really a global thing. It's not that I say work on this tune and this tune and this tune, and then you'll see. It's just an overall scope of the music in general, and it tends to be about the melody. Even though I'm not in my own music quoting specific melodies, but it's just the fact that it was so melodic. Their instincts were so strong. And when I talk about songwriting, a lot of times I'll talk about especially Lennon and McCartney, and certainly George Harrison eventually came into his own on a very high level with his songwriting. But they weren't aware of any specific theory, or they couldn't read or write music, but they learned so much music. And this is really the lesson, is that it's what you absorb with your ears and what you take in. Not that you've read from a written page. Not that that's wrong. We can learn a lot from videos and from visual education, but it's really about the oral the oral experience, because when it comes time for you to instinctually write your own music, it's what I call the oral act, which is your ear's instincts, the intelligence of your ear, right? I speak at length about this, and I have a guitar course for TrueFire called Melodic Muse. And so I had to find a way of discussing melody and where it comes from without really having, specifically learned it that way, but I could formulate it, or at least recognize how I got to where I am and how I imagine some of my favorite writers got to there. And that's the case with Lennon and McCartney, where they just learned hundreds and hundreds of songs because they were playing these lengthy residencies in Hamburg at the Star Club or the Kaiserkeller down by the Reeperbahn in Hamburg. And they would play, I think, famously 8 hours a night or 10 hours a night or something just insane. So they ran out of Chuck Berry and Buddy Holly real quick, but they were learning, they'd remember show tunes that were from their parents' record collection. They just liked the tunes, and there's so much, and you can trace certain songs specifically to things that they wrote where they're kind of drawing fairly literally, but especially Paul McCartney had just this incredible melodic instinct. Not that John didn't, but you hear him, the way he can improvise melodies, is just absolutely stunning. But it's all coming from what they would have learned in the past, and whatever that what resonated with them. What I love this note at this specific time and this chord. I need to get something like that in my song, and that's how I approach my writing. And I think that's anybody that improvises or writes songs, they're just trying to create the song or the solo they want to hear, right? I think we're just trying to. It has to start with you. It has to be something that's in your heart and that you really want to create. Of course, we hope other people dig it, and connects with them in the way that we're feeling it. And the musicians and the writers on a very high level, they get that that reciprocal, whatever the ism of that is. I'm not speaking clearly today, but long story short, the overall appeal of the Beatles is they had so much of that connected with people. Clearly, to this day, each generation keeps going back and going, yeah, this is truly great. But that's a lot of it is that melodic sense. So, I mean, certainly for me, I absorbed all that music, quite specifically for most of my life, and then, but to go back and learn some of those songs, yeah, okay, that's a cool thing to do too. And that's the other thing when people asking me about playing melodically, how do you arrive there? Well, the best thing you could do is just learn your favorite melodies. It seems like such a simple thing to say, but it's true, and try to really emulate the vocal. And that's that was the challenge on the Sgt. Pepper record. How can I really capture the Lennon vocal or the McCartney vocal or the sitar, and strings on Within You, Without You? And really getting to the nuts and bolts of how to express that in the best possible way on the instrument. And that's a wonderful exercise no matter what. Just to really make that connection between the melodic ear and your fingers. Right. To when it's come times to play your own solos or write your own melodies. That's, this is where it all comes from. All the things that you've absorbed that you love is going to eventually come out through you, but it'll come out as you, because you can't perfectly replicate all these things, but it comes out as you, the more that you collect this variety of things and not just one narrow field,
Yeah, right. So you think would probably be just a good idea to try to play the vocal melody on your instrument and make it sound as vocal as possible, just to get an idea of having strong melodies in your playing.
Absolutely. And the thing with guitar players is that we all learn scales. We learn the pentatonic, we learn what key something's in, and then we can let our fingers kind of do what they want from the knowledge of what those notes are. But that's not really where melody comes from. It can. The melodies come from those notes, but it's not necessarily a physical digital sequence, right? So yes, learn those melodies. Yeah, learn and try to emulate the vocalist, because that's going to tell you, well, he's not singing a scale. When does he sing a scale? It's not going to happen very often. There might be 2 and 3 notes in a row that, I recognize that from it's this mode or whatever, but chances are they're not thinking about modes. They're just purely singing. And that's another thing too. I noticed that throughout my life, I improvise melodies along with any music that I hear. I'm either singing a counter, even in my head, or sometimes physically. I'll be coming up with my own melodies all the time. And again, I didn't even realize how I was strengthening that muscle for improvisation or composing. It's always having the thought of, oh, what would I like to hear here? What could I sing as a counter melody or a melody instead of what might be happening? Great exercise you can do all the time. Just even just thinking of it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Another question that I have is, we probably live now in a very competitional world with lots of technical exposure on YouTube channels which create a lot of pressure on guitar players, and for some people it seems more important to practice exercises than doing music. What are your thoughts about this development? And when you practice, do you grab a guitar and just say, I want to make music right from the first second, or do you also practice exercises?
That's a great question. I find that I do best when I'm balancing both of those, but music has always, for better or worse, has been the winner because I was never a good practicer. I was never a good, I'm going to play scales for this amount of time. I'm going to work on my chord voicings, and I'll do it for a bit, but it always just kind of spills over into, now I'm writing a song, or now I'm improvising, which is, any time on the instrument is great. So whatever you're doing, if you got the guitar in your hands, that's great. But I find when I have my best practice day, it's when maybe I will play some scales, or maybe there's a picking technique I need to work on, because I'm a fan of that high level of technique. I love to hear really amazing, technically adept players, but I also want to hear music. So, and it's not to say that some of these young people that I hear playing aren't doing both, because some of them are. I took a lesson with a young guy named Josh Meter, who was just this incredibly fluid playing. I've never heard anybody with this kind of technique, but he's playing some really musical stuff too. So it is possible, and it makes me sad when you talk about the pressure that players feel, and I know what that is, because I've got pressure too. I want to have those chops, and I want to. I call it the different colors on the palette. It's like, I love playing my beautiful slow melodies and those kind of things, but you want a bit of that flash too, because you got to have a balance in that. And so each thing has more meaning when it's not just all one thing. You got to have the light and the shade, right? So, but I at the end of the day, I'm hoping that music is still the focus. I'm a lover of music, not just of an ability as far as technical, prowess, but I'm an admirer of it. I aspire to continue to work on mine, my chops, and I'd love to be a faster player, I admire it, and I love to hear it in little bits, but that's kind of the thing now. Everybody's producing content in little, very small snippets. So maybe that's where the attention span is going, sadly, but I know there's still people that really connect with a finely crafted tune, good melodies, and but then they want a bit of flash too. So I'm the kind of player that does want it all, and I enjoy the process of trying to get there, even though I know I never will.
Yeah, right.
Just keep learning. That's the thing.
Yeah, right. I can imagine that probably in the times when you entered the stage in the 80s with Danger Danger, the thing was probably comparable, because there was this whole regime of these shred guitar players in the 80s, and something probably you even expected it from a guitar player just to cope with these others. How did that feel for you back in the days?
I was totally in that school, basically. I was in Danger Danger, but my heroes were Vi and Satriani and Eric Johnson. I wanted to be on that stage, but even in the we toured with Extreme right when our first records were both out. So Nuno's this incredibly technical player, but a beautiful player, And so there was, you had to have that in your arsenal, And I love playing the melodies, but if you listen back to what I was playing on, especially the Screw It record or Cockroach, it's there's plenty of me trying to be like that, And but I got there earlier with Steve Lukather was my most foundational player that I learned the most from, after coming from Beatles and then Ace Frehley with Kiss and Rush. But when Luke came along, that was the guy that I really resonated the most with. You could just hear his heart and soul. He had he had the plenty to burn, but when he played the single notes, like I saw Luke just this last week, Toto and Journey were in town. And it was emotional for me. You know, I've gotten to hang with Luke, and we're friends these days.
Yeah.
But I got seeing him on stage with an arena full of people, and the way he would just play that one bend, you know, it's like that's my dad in a way, though he's like an older brother, you know, because it was just his time feel and where he places his pitch. It's so much of what I do is informed by that. So
yeah, right. Yeah, I think that's what many guitar players like about your playing, just like I do, but about your playing or playing of Neil Sean, Steve Lukather, or Dan Huff. I mean, they have that in store, but they know when to pick that card and when to leave it in the pocket. I mean,
well, it's like everything else. It's just nice to have the palette to paint from, you know, and you just don't want it to be all red or all blue. You know, you want a nice combination of all that. So
yeah.
But so fortunately, those guys are heroes to me, and if I'm carrying on that torch in any way, I'm happy to do so. You know, yeah, I love Dan Huff. He doesn't get talked enough about, man. Dan's amazing.
Yeah.
Beautiful player.
To me, you do definitely.
Well,
absolutely.
thank you, sir. All right, I'll keep trying.
Okay. Andy, so now thanks a lot for taking your time. I wish you best of luck and lots of success with the new record. And
thank you, man.
Probably will be having an upcoming tour. And I hope that
I hope so. I hope so. Later in the year, we'll keep your ears open. I'm coming over to the UK for a few dates at the end of June with the Pedal Show guys, and then I do a camp in Italy. I haven't been to Germany now in a few years, so I hope to come back later this year. So hope to see you, man.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then thanks for taking the time, and hope to
Heiko.
see you soon here in Germany on a concert.
That sounds great, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heiko. Cheers,
Okay.
man. Bye-bye.
Bye.